5 easy ways to achieve financial independence. With this video, we want to discuss some simple methods to attain financial independence, whether you are just starting out or still on the route to achieving so. Maintain a positive cash flow. How well do you manage the flow of funds through your business? This will ultimately define how prosperous you will be in terms of your financial situation. You're likely familiar with cash flow if you have studied accounting. However, when we go out into the real world, we find that we are faced with the same challenges that businesses have when it comes to cash flow. We are responsible for managing the cash that comes into and leaves the company. You need to ensure that your company is making more money than it is losing to keep it afloat. Or, at the very least, the amount of money taking out of the company is equal to the amount that is being brought in. It makes no difference how much debt the company has or how much money it spends. If it brings in more money than it consumes, it might be considered a successful firm. The same logic applies to one's financial situation. As long as you bring in more income than you are spending, it doesn't matter how much debt you have, whether it be a house, college loans, or a vehicle lease. Avoid taking on more obligations than you need to. This oversight is, very literally, one of the primary reasons why so many people are having trouble making ends meet financially. They may have positive cash flow, but they go and take on a financial obligation they can't meet. I'm not only referring to the fact that they take out a lease on a brand new automobile or rack up credit card debt. Instead, I am referring to the fact that they get into an expensive relationship or begin a family. Don't get me wrong. I am not implying that having children is a poor choice by suggesting that you build a family. However, the equation is, assume that your company's cash flow is stable. You gain a second job or are promoted to your current position, which leads to an increase in your income. You then decide to create a family and raise a child, which increases your costs. Not too shabby, huh? However, as you continue to get older, your expenses will also continue to rise, and at some point, they will exceed your income. You will have negative cash flow, and for the rest of your life, you will be forced to work hard to make up for your negative cash flow. This is what is referred to as generational poverty. When this happens, you reach a point when you cannot accumulate the financial resources necessary to lift yourself out of poverty. The majority of individuals living in today's society cannot achieve financial independence, not because they do not put in the necessary effort, but rather because they have placed themselves in circumstances in which they have no choice but to spend every cent they make. Therefore, you must carry out step number 3 to ensure that your positive cash flow is maintained at all times. Create a diversified investment portfolio. 4,000 years ago, a monarchy formerly existed in ancient Mesopotamia. There was a person named Arcad who was impoverished in the extreme sense of the word. He labored very hard so that he could provide for his family and put food on the table. However, when he was paid for his services, he only put a small amount of food on the table and lent the rest of the money to a shield maker, who then paid interest on the loan. He did this so that he could get out of poverty. Instead of spending the interest to better his quality of life, he decided to lend it to another shield manufacturer, which resulted in his accumulating even more riches. After carrying out these actions for several years, he eventually amassed such a large of fortune that he was no longer required to engage in any gainful employment and became the wealthiest individual in Babylon. There is a possibility that you won't discover a shield maker today who can borrow your money, but there are undoubtedly other tools available to you that may help you build your riches. But before we continue, I want to clarify that we are not professional financial advisors, and nothing that you hear from us on this channel can be construed as professional financial advice. Before you make any investment, you need to complete your independent research. Be liquid. Because there is a chance that you might lose money when you invest, you shouldn't rush out and put all of your savings into the stock market. If you invested $1,000 in the S&P 500 index in June of 2007 and then decided to take the money out a year later due to an unexpected expense, how much would you have lost? How much do you think you could have made if you had invested that $1,000? I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. The answer is no. To get your money back, you would have to wait for another 5 years, 2013. To put it another way, this is how the market operates. It fluctuates daily between high and low. When a crisis does occur, it might take a few years for everything to go back to normal. If you are interested in the stock market, you should plan to participate in it for the long term to maximize your gains. But it would be best if you had liquid assets to experience the genuine freedom of being financially self-sufficient. If anything goes wrong, you do not feel concerned. You have enough money saved up not to worry about paying your expenses for at least half a year. Even if you lose your job, your company takes a turn for the worse, and the economy enters a recession. No problem. You have everything under control. Prepare a strategy. The things discussed in this video seem like they would be fantastic to accomplish, but where on earth would one get the money to do all of those things? It would seem like winning the lottery is the only viable alternative. You are free to give it a go. I wish you the best of luck. There's another choice available to you: budgeting your expenditures. One single month will not be enough time to save enough money to cover expenses for the next 6 months. You will not be able to construct an investment portfolio worth $1 million in a matter of months. And what do you know? You do not need to do that. Independence from one's financial obligations is not the goal in and of itself. The objective is not only to get sufficient wealth and then settle down permanently. Instead, you should set yourself so that you are not going to make every choice based on how much something will cost you. You will not switch jobs just because the new one offers a little better salary. You are likely going to keep working, but you will focus on projects that are the utmost importance to you. Your life will perhaps become a bit more interesting after you've resolved some of the financial issues plaguing you. I hope you liked and learned something from today's video. If you want to keep improving and being inspired, subscribe and press the bell button to be alerted whenever we upload a video. This has been Market Profits Institute.